All right, what is going on? How y'all doing out there in Uncle Steve's Lounge on Atlanta Bird Gang as well on in Facebook? Woo! Man, oh man, that was ugly today. Atlanta takes a huge one on the chin today from Cincinnati, 35-17. Not, it's so weird to me. I don't know how you all feel about this game. It's kind of strange. It's not that I don't think. Look, all games are big, and you got to do the best you can do. When you have the opportunity to go out there and compete, I don't want to linger on the injuries because it's the same story the 49ers gave us last week about how our injuries were, detrimental to today's game. We just couldn't match those guys point for point today. We really didn't. They scored those 21 so quick it wasn't even funny. By the time you blink your eye, you're down 21-0. And today, I realized more than any other time during the season, maybe the Rams game, we don't have the offense to come back from a large deficit. And the Tampa game, we almost did it. We tried to do it against Tampa when 21-0. The Rams 20, I think they were up 21-0 too, if I'm not mistaken. But we can't get behind playing the way our offense plays. It's not like we weren't running the ball effectively. We still ran for 100. We still got close to 4 yards a carry. But you can't have long sustained drives down 18 in the fourth quarter. And that bothered me that we didn't have the ability to put our foot on the pedal and keep pushing. That bothers me when we weren't able to do that. So I want to know how everybody else feels. So the question that I have is, are we done, or bad loss, or do you think the season still can be captured? Because I think it was just a bad loss. It's a bad loss today. Bad loss to the AFC champs. Defending AFC champs, yes. But is the season done for you as a Falcon fan with that loss? And I know I say it all the time at the beginning of the season. There are only 17 of these weeks. So when you have 17 of these weeks, every week is important. Case in point, today, do you guys realize that next week's Atlanta-Carolina game basically could be for first place in the NFC South? Tampa plays Baltimore on short rest. And I'm not mistaken, I think that game is in Baltimore. They play Baltimore on short rest in Baltimore this week with an offense that couldn't even put up a touchdown against Carolina. And the Falcons play the Panthers. Falcons being 3-4, Panthers being 2-5. And there is a chance that the winner of that game could be the leader in NFC South at 3-5. That's how bad things are. So that's what makes these games so important. Running down the list, what's going on, y'all? PJ, what's going on? My brother said, why is Coach Smith hesitant to let M throw the ball? I was talking about that. I was on the show just a couple of minutes ago with my brother Smitty, Antoine Smitty Smith of Smitty Sports Machine, Big Low Country. I know y'all know that brother, always putting it down. 95 North Talk, all those guys on YouTube. And we were literally talking about that. And the question becomes not even so much why Smith is hesitant. Maybe it's a point that maybe he doesn't think Mariota can do it. And notwithstanding a beautiful pass that Mariota threw dead on the money to Boyd earlier in the game, Bird, I should say. I mean, what else did we do offensively to stretch the field? We didn't do a lot. And I almost think it was by design. We are trying to do a sustained drive down 18, down 18 points. That just didn't make any sense to me. Ron, what's going on, man? How you doing up there? Dre is in the house on Uncle Steve's Lounge. What's going on? Foster is in the house. Very frustrating, my friend. Very frustrating. Clayton says the secondary and O-line failed us. Now listen. You say the O-line. And there were definitely a couple of times that I say the O-line was not great. 2 of those sacks that Mariota took, he actually had a little time. And not to compare him to our buddy who just left here for Indy last year, I think he might have held on to the ball a couple of times a little too long. This is one of the first times this year that I've seen him take negative yardage on plays when he could have thrown the ball away or something like that. Seemed like this week, for some reason, he regressed in that. And it might have had something to do with Cincinnati. I mean, their front four, when healthy, are a pretty good group. So I'm not trying to not give Cincinnati credit. But I also say it seemed like Mariota was not in his regular groove today. And let's face it, his regular groove has a ceiling. And that ceiling is not that type of player that's going to throw for 300 yards. Not at this point in his, I don't know if it's ever been in his career. But that's not his game. And if we go up against a team that has high-powered offense and have receivers like, Higgins and Chase and Boyd and a very revitalized Hayden Hurst, we're going to have problems. And yes, the secondary failed us, and there are no excuses. We said it last week to the Frisco fans. Frisco fans tried to scream to anybody who listened, all our defense is hurt. No, we didn't have everybody, whatever. But you know what? If you suited up, you're telling me that the depth that you've acquired on this team is able to do the job. And today, we saw that they couldn't. Wide receivers running wide open down the field. 5 yards with no one in front of them. Head start. If Higgins had 7 more yards in the game, they would have had 3 receivers with 100 yards. Ugly. My brother Lee Jackson is in the house. What's going on, my friend? Rough day for the defense, especially the secondary. Couldn't play press coverage with the personnel we had on the field. It was 7-on-7 drill. That's exactly what it looked like. 7-on-7 drills. You're absolutely right. But I say all of that for the defense, though, Lee. But where was the offense to combat that? See, I wasn't looking at Cincinnati as this defensive juggernaut, and they really aren't. I think we just did some things offensively to hurt ourselves. The way we hurried up and scored those points against them in the first half, those 14 points, it wasn't like Cincinnati was going into zone. Some pretty good plays we made. So, yes, the defense was lacking today. Yes, there were injuries and things like that. But just like last week when we were talking about Frisco and their defensive injuries, the offense still was there. The offense still had their players. We still had Huntley and Algier and Pitts and London and the folks that put up 28 points last week. I say 21 because I know we had 1 defensive touchdown. So I'm sorry, that's not an excuse. But yeah, it looked horrible. Lisa, how you doing? Say second half shut out for us, man. Wasn't expecting that. We couldn't generate points at all. Tough outing. And you're absolutely right. That second, we couldn't generate points. Could not generate points. And that's important. In the NFL, you've got to be able to put points on the board. It's a waste if you can't. A total waste. Winston, what's going on, man? We look rough this week, but there are some promising signs when our young players round into shape throughout the year. We are going to surprise a lot of people. And, people, of course, today, everyone is going to point to Armstrong, who was brought from the practice squad or whatever. And who knows, he might get deactivated tomorrow or whatever. Listen, the guy was brought out there. He wasn't ready. They had him on chase a couple of times. I don't blame Joe Burrow one bit. I would have went for him all day. If it was turned around and the Falcons had a quarterback that could throw the ball down the field, I would have tested him all day. And we didn't. But they did. Give them credit. Clayton says, our running back couldn't find a hole. We should have made a hole. Yeah, there were some definitely clog ups today with Cincinnati. I think we definitely blew some opportunities running the ball today. Lisa said that first touchdown they got within the first 2 minutes, explosive plays everywhere. And that's something we haven't done this year. We haven't given up the huge play like that this year. We've been given the ticky-tack and let them walk down the field and do what they do, but not as much as they had today. Again, you can't look, Joe Burrow threw for 400. He dang near had 500 yards, y'all. How did you do that? He almost had 500 yards. I'm trying to look right here to get the exact thing. Joe Burrow went 34 for 42, 481 yards, 3 touchdowns. And for the most part, looked clean. And that's what I even hated too. Couple of drives, we got pressure on him. But he was still able at 2nd and 13, or 2nd and 19, and things like that to still get the first down. Horrible. David said, limited quarterback, beat up secondary. We weren't going to win this game anyway, but the coaching blunders were really disappointing. The coaching definitely surprised me that we did not coach up to this game. There were definitely some things there that I think we need to clean up. Facebook user says, banged up secondary against a top 3 offense. Let's put it into perspective. Yeah, but listen, you line up in a game, the perspective is great, but you can't go, I don't care who you are, you can't go down 21-0. At least 21-7 or 21-10. I understand what you're saying. The same excuse the 49ers had last week, we're basically doing the same thing. You can't do that. You can't do that. So you're saying Green Bay doesn't have any wide receivers this year, so we're going to excuse them losing? Tampa Bay doesn't have the same mojo they had last year, so you're going to excuse them losing against Carolina? No, you can't do that. We have to be accountable for the people that we bring on this team as far as depth is concerned. I do realize we are hampered by the salary cap and all of that, but they chose those players to come in here and fill in. And Armstrong being on the practice squad, I guess that doesn't mean he's a superstar, but at the same time, they kept him around because he's able to fill in. And today, he wasn't able to do the job. And I'm not just pointing him out to say he blew the game. And really, at the end, he started playing a little better. But we can't go there. We can't use that excuse. We'll still win the division. We got punched in the mouth 3-0 the next game. I hope so. Got Justin Herbert coming in here. Justin Herbert might be the last special quarterback we have until we get to Lamar Jackson. Justin Herbert might be the last legit quarterback until we get to him. In December, I think. So let's see how that works. We done, Steve. Let Ritter come get some reps and start preparing for next year. Well, we're not done. We're not done. If we were done, yeah, go look at the standings right now. And if you don't get a chance to check out the standings, let me show them to you for a second. And look, nobody's trying to say the Falcons are trying to win the division this year, but okay, let's look at it. Tampa Bay is 3-4. I'm trying to see if I can get this back. Ooh, can't do it. Tampa Bay is 3-4. Atlanta's 3-4. Carolina's 2-5. New Orleans 2-5. Guess what, folks? I don't care what your record is. Somebody in the NFC South is going to the playoffs. Why not us? And this is not a cry for the playoffs, just a cry to say, how is the season over when you're tied for the best record in the division? And as I said earlier, we play Carolina basically in a early elimination game, not a total elimination game. But the winner of Carolina Atlanta next week has an opportunity to be in first place. So it's not over yet. I'm not going that route. Lisa said we must beat Carolina. We're the only team without a division. Yeah, those division losses are killing us. That's true. Drake, what's going on, man? So our season is not done, but like you said last week, Marcus Mariota is a manager, not a quarterback. We can ride with not a quarterback we can ride with long term, not using our top players enough. And now, Dre, we're getting to that point of the season where I'm sure nobody expected Tampa and New Orleans to be as bad as they've been. And with New Orleans truly not looking like they can turn the corner, and Tom Brady obviously focusing somewhere else, now you have to get to a point where you're Arthur Smith and saying, why don't we make some moves? I'm not trying to say make trades just to make trades, but let's go see what's going on out there. Let's see if Roquan Smith might be eligible. Let's see if there's a cornerback on the market that's disgruntled that we can maybe throw away one of those 5th-round picks that we just got for Debo. That 6th-round pick, I should say, that we just got for Debo. Let's see. Because you have an opportunity here. I say again, the next 6 games, Panthers, Chargers, Panthers. Come on, y'all. I mean, it's not. I mean, these are some. I don't know. On paper, maybe we could do it. Christian says it's not over yet. The only thing that worries me is the injuries. I'm hoping we can regroup and get back on a win streak. And again, every team in the NFL is going to have injuries. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. So at some point, it comes to whether we're going to coach these teams up good or not. To me. I know I lost my thought. I said next 6 games. I forgot the next one. We got Panthers, Chargers, Panthers, Bears, Commanders, Steelers. And then the bye. Maybe this was an aberration or something. Maybe the Bengals were meant to come in here and slam the door on us. Maybe they were. Lee says, no, we're not done. If we could say anything about this season, there are going to be some 8 and 9 teams probably making the playoffs. No one is going to run away in the Central, South, and West. The West are beating up themselves, Lee. When you start looking at the Rams, the 49ers, I'm looking at the current standings in the NFC. All the strength is in the NFC East right now. You look at the NFC North, Green Bay 3-4. NFC South, Tampa 3-4, Atlanta 3-4. NFC West, Frisco needs to win this game to be 4-3. The Rams, I think the Rams are off this week, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, this is far from over. I think it was just a bad game. We have a lot of injuries on defense. I think we're still in it. Yeah, we're still in it. I mean, of course we're still in it. If you look at the beginning of your division and the person in front has the same amount of wins as you do, you're still in it. Nobody's giving that up. We got to change some of the mentality coaching, though. Clayton says, well, with the secondary looking like high school, offense have to step up. O-line failed us and play call. Play call, I would agree with. And again, I'll just have to agree to disagree totally with the O-line. But I do see there were plays that the O-line was definitely not sharp. I'm not going to try to pretend like that's not true. You're right. David says, I don't think we're done, but as we talked about last Monday, we need to go 5-2 in the next 7. That's imperative, and one of these losses is now. So now you're saying 5-1. Christian, I was happy to see Brady go down. His behind should have stayed retired. It's going to be interesting to see. There is something weird going on with Tom Brady, and I don't know. I usually don't like the personal stuff. Again, whatever's going on between him and his wife is him and his wife, but it's clear that something is going on with Tom Brady. It's clear, to me at least. Coach up the defense to stop the passing, no run backs in the backfield, 6 blueprints to beat. Yep. Alicia, what's going on? How you doing? Said, yes, very disappointed they did not come to play, and I know that was not a very enjoyable, or not going to be a very enjoyable trip back. Yeah, that was embarrassing on all levels, especially to go down 21-0. Ryan, what's going on? Say, at least you guys aren't the Packers. Ryan, like I tell before, and you think I'm joking with you, every time I see the Packers lose, I promise you, you're like the first person that comes on my mind. Because I know you are probably throwing everything. I'm just hoping that whatever's in your hand is not heavy enough to break a TV screen. Because I know the last 2 games against the Giants and now Washington have been head-scratching, to say the least. Is the Aaron Rodgers era close to being over? Him and Tom Brady have not looked good this year. Clayton says, coach was trying to run, throw, but their D stopped us in the trenches. And the one thing you're right about this, Clayton. I disagree, though. In the first half, even down 21, I could almost get it. Because that one drive that we did come down and score 7, you want to give your defense a little bit of rest. Give your defense something. Because at that point, Cincinnati was just going up and down the field. You have to give them some type of rest. So, yeah, I agree with that. 35-17, and you're trying to do a long, sustained drive, to your point, Clayton, run, then throw. To me, it almost like you were coaching to lose then. Or is that the case that you don't trust Mariota to open up the offense to throw the ball downfield? It's something that has to be discussed. And I'm the same person throwing flowers to Mariota for his offensive player of the week last week, as we should have. He had a great game last week. But in a game like this, where your defense is struggling, I need my offense to keep up. And you can't start scoring after 3 touchdowns down. You can't do that. The optimist in the world will say, well, we outscored them 17-7 in the end. But come on, man. That's ridiculous. Facebook user says, too many exposed moments, no quarterback depth, offensive tackle play inconsistent, players not winning the one-on-ones on offense and defense, suspect play calling, and the list goes on. Here's the thing about that. This was truly the first game this year that I can say, and I'll maybe take out the first half of the Rams game, maybe the first 2 quarters and a half against the Rams. This is the first time I've seen the Falcons' trenches get exposed on both sides. And look, they sacked the quarterback 3 times today. So it's not like they weren't getting to Burrow. And the running game was non-existent. But again, if you're Joe Burrow, at some point, you're just like, okay, they don't have anybody that can check my guys. Why do I need to run? Why am I going to go to a running? Why am I going to get the ball to Joe Mixon when I got receivers with 100 yards? I got 2 receivers with 100 yards before the half. So, yeah, this is the first time I think I've seen them thoroughly dominated from start to finish this year. And everybody's going to have one, y'all. It just looks worse when it's your team. Everybody's going to have one. I'm not going to totally throw the guys out because you had your stinker of the year. Every team, with the exception of Philadelphia, has had a stinker this year. So, John, what's going on, man? We didn't hit him in the mouth today. No, we did not. We did not. Ballstar said we got our tackle. Our tackles got whooped today. We definitely should have taken more shots downfield. Yeah, the edge guys were killing us. And look, I'll give credit where credit is due. The inside actually wasn't looking that bad. The pressure wasn't coming up the middle. The pressure was definitely not coming up the middle today. Clayton said the interception call back, yeah, killed everything. Yeah, that was a horrible one too. That was bad. RJ says embarrassing loss, and no other way to say it. It is embarrassing. Timothy says, Uncle Steve, we got to play 50-50 ball. But it's okay. Now, if you're saying 50-50 ball offensively, talking about running and passing, that's easy to say when you don't go down 21 early. At some point, down that much, you're either going to do one or two things. Either you're going to wave the white flag by bringing in your backup quarterback, or you're going to keep trying. So what was head-scratching to me was down 18 points in the second half in the fourth quarter. When Cincinnati, let's face it, it slowed down a little bit. They only scored one touchdown in the second half. It's not like they totally lit us up. They had opportunities. But it was almost like we were just kind of going through the motions. And there's one thing to say, I'm going to stick to the script no matter what. But it bothers me when it looks like you're not even attempting to stretch the ball down the field a little bit. I mean, we're going to our same strategy. Run, like Clayton said, I think. Run, then pass. And you can't do that down 21. You can do that down 10. You can do that down 7. But you can't do that in the fourth quarter down 18. It's too late to wear the defense out now. They're up 18 points. They're up 3 possessions. You can't do that. RJ says offense was out of it today. Offense, O-line, they got their behind kick. They did. Dre said, why the hell did AJ play if he was 100%? I mean, well, let's not try to pretend like, the brother, he tried to come out there and play. If they're not hurt, they're going to try. If they think they can make it, they're going to come out and play. I'm not going to criticize AJ for not trying to help the team. He tried to help your team. He thought he could. It was obvious he was trying to run, and whatever it was, it caught him, and it just caught him. But, I'm not going to blame the man for trying to play. He did try to play. Regina Johnson, how you doing, sis? A rough week. We are not done. I'm just getting started with a basically new team. Considering during preseason, I was not even thinking we would have this many wins. And I think we lose that perspective sometimes, sis, when you start thinking back to the talk we were having in August. It's going to be a long season. Tampa Bay is going to run away, have 15 wins. The Saints are going to be 10 wins. They're going to open up the offense and all that. And none of that has come to fruition yet. Again, let me remind you, Tampa 3-4, Atlanta 3-4, Saints 2-5, Carolina 2-5. Folks, there is a lot of football left, and there is a lot of destiny controlling that you can do with your team. A lot of things that you can do that you don't have to worry about what the other teams do. You see what I'm saying? You worry about, again, Cincinnati. On paper, I don't think there's a person, to a man or woman, that would have said Atlanta would go up to Cincinnati and beat the defending AFC champs before the season started. Now, of course, the way we've been playing the last couple of weeks, there was hope. But again, let's go back. This was a game we probably didn't count. So let's keep it right there and let's see what happens going forward. RJ says it has to be a reason why a coach won't throw the ball, maybe because your quarterback can't throw it that good. And again, I saw the pass, y'all. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like I didn't see the pass that he threw the bird. But it's interesting to me that we didn't even try another shot. I think we tried maybe one more shot. But that bothers me. Jimmy said we can't throw. And that was such a pretty throw that he threw at that time. Winston says our running back stuck to the play. There were plenty of cutback lanes that they didn't take advantage of. Jimmy said at least Burrow, my fantasy quarterback. Well, I know you were balling today if that was your quarterback. Brian C. Smith, what's going on? Said, I don't get why knowing our secondary was getting toasted, we didn't blitz him all the time. I said earlier, Brian, it's so funny. I saw opportunity early to blitz Joe Burrow. It was a couple of times. They had one where they brought Troy in, and they had another one where they brought what's our buddy's name from Georgia? And he ended up getting the sack today. But yeah, it seemed like we just went away from it. I was like, well, dude, if you can't check them, then at least punish him for throwing those balls. And it seemed like a little bit in the second quarter and a smidge in the third quarter. They did start bringing the heat a little bit, but by that time, it was over. Jonathan says the new Falcons weren't a threat in the air, and they used it. Yep, they knew the Falcons weren't a threat in the air, and they used it. Yep. And who wouldn't? My son and I was sitting up there talking. I said, shoot, if I know they were already short in the secondary and then AJ goes down, of course I'm going to go at him. I mean, that would be foolish not to. Timothy says, our offense needs to be able to strike at will, but our play calling not up for this game. Timothy, I don't know why you would call some of the play calls they did, knowing that they're down that many points. You're down 21 points. I'm sorry. You can't run the ball 2 out of every 3 times. And you know what? And I even take that back. The first half, I might understand that. Because again, your defense was going out so quick. They were going right back out there that you had to get a drive in the first half to sustain just to give the defense a little time to rest. I could understand the first half. But it bothers me in the second half that there was no urgency. There was no huddle. There were no passes that at least tried to maybe get some kind of, yards down the field. And I'm trying to go and look and see what Mariota's numbers ended up being today. Right quick. What did Mario end up? Mario ended up with 8 out of 13, 124 yards, 118.7 rating. 8 of 13. So he threw 13 passes. So again, if you're down 21 and I look at these numbers, this tells me that I don't care what you say, fans, social media, broadcasters, whatever. I'm sticking to my plan. I'm gonna run the ball 29 times and I'm gonna throw it 13 times. No matter how far we're behind. I got a problem with that. Because that seems like you're playing to lose. And I don't like that. I don't like that. Ballstar says we got Eli Apple on the 75-yard and never tested him again. Bad coaching again. Perfect. You're right. You gotta test them cats. Just let them run free. I mean, let them and try it again. You know what? I'd rather you try it again and get intercepted than not try it at all. Dave says the Falcons clearly need to begin the search for a quarterback of their future. Mariota seems to be the guy you would want your daughter to marry, but not me. Yeah, look, the daughter might disown him after a while. What's on, brother Mike? How you doing, my friend? Dave says quarterback Falcons are not good enough at the quarterback position. There's no lies detected. Lee says father time, not no Tampa Bay's door with a Giselle mask. Look, and that would be funny. Next game, everybody comes when he comes at the end of the year, put a Giselle mask on. Abel says, no excuses. Every team has a couple of ugly games a year when they're blown out. This is our day to stink. Bucks have had 2 ugly games in a row. And Abel, that's the perspective that I need people to understand. Today was not the end of everything. There are things that we are free to question about maybe the will to try to win. I think there was something that bothers me about how we went about our business when we were behind. That doesn't stick right with me. I don't know why. Dave says Falcons already threw away a 5th round pick in the Edwards trade. Yeah, and then but we got the 6th round pick from for the Debo trade, so that's the one we could use. Millie, what's going on, man? Said that was a loss for A. Smith, telling him he needs to pass more, let Mario to be a quarterback. We will have to be able to pass and run in order to make the playoffs. And that's something to think about, Millie. When you start thinking about down the line, look, teams might say, let's get up early on the Falcons. Because if we get up early on the Falcons, they might not be able to come back because their offense isn't built to come back like that. So that could be true. Brother Rusty, what's going on, man? Say, I question coaching. Other teams' wide receivers are also way too wide open. I don't care how many DBs are hurt. These are the games we're going to struggle in where we have to rely on pass until we get a quarterback. Tidy made a good point. Defensive line, I'm sorry, DL and KP are cool now because they are young, but they combined for 19 yards. The diva in them is going to come out next year if we don't start utilizing them. Those dudes want the ball. I don't start. Listen, Drake is special. I don't know who doesn't see that. Drake London is going to be special. Kyle Pitts, despite his lofty draft position, is really a good tight end. A tight end I still wouldn't have picked at number 4, but yet still a good tight end. You got to get these guys the ball. You got to. And if we don't continue, if we don't do that, man, we're hurting ourselves. We got to get these guys the ball. So you're right, Russ. Millie says, does he have passing plays in the playbook? You know what? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. That's a fair question. That's a fair question. Brianne, how you doing today? Say, that's my point. When people say we are a run-heavy offense, but we were eating up too much time off the clock and didn't even put up points. But last week kept throwing and ran the ball to score. We switched it up when we needed it to be done. And that's the part that scares me, because today it seemed like there was no, I don't know, is urgency the right word? It just seemed like we didn't put our foot on the pedal at all. The drives that we scored the touchdown, of course, the long pass, and then the sustained drive, and then we trying to mimic that in the 4th quarter, down 18. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense to me, y'all, because I don't get it. Winston says Smith is calling the best game he can with the limitation he has. The O-line is not holding up in pass pro, and we have a quarterback who is better at running than passing, especially intermediate to deep. And while those are facts, Winston, at some point, you're going to have another game like this where a team's going to jump out in front at you. And we can't continue to, just say, oh, we're going to stick to the plan and we'll eventually just wear them down, and in the 4th quarter give us one opportunity to win the game. I think I don't know. I know he's trying a little bit, but I think today we could have pushed on that pedal just a little bit more, in my opinion. Billy says our O-line was still drunk off that Lizard Chuck Classic. Yeah, and we talking about the Bud Lights they were drinking. That could be true. PJ says they didn't let Pitts eat on National Tight End Day. Right. I forgot about that. I saw that. Michael says Coach doesn't trust MM to throw the ball, period. But you know what, Brother Mike? If he don't trust him, then why have him in there? I mean, if you don't trust him, take him out. Let the young boy eat and take your lumps. But at some point, somebody got to make a decision on what we want to do. We got to do that. John Harris says, run, pass, punt. That was basically the day. Brianne says, Michael, it's weird that when he had the only one complete pass last weekend was named Offensive Player of the Week. But again, the difference last week was we were never down. I think the game plan and the game focus changes when you're down 3 scores. And first half, I get it that you want to still establish the run and stuff like that. Second half, at some point, you're just saying, man, are we trying to win the game or are we just trying to hurry up and get up out of here? So we just can't play in a shootout with this type of quarterback. Yeah, maybe so. He has some good weapons too. Clayton says Pease went to 2021 defensive playbook. Then Hurst gave us that insulting play. Yeah. You know Hayden wanted this game. Norman says, exactly, Brian. We should have blitzed over half the game to help the secondary out. That was the first thing I was thinking. Blitz. Let's blitz at least. Let's throw that blitz in. And they tried. A couple of times they picked up and a couple of times they got home. RJ says, I won't overreact this season because I know we had to put a team together with little resource. However, coaching has been okay and the team has been playing hard for each other. So I'm cool. That's my judgment. Starts when the offseason starts. And I don't have a problem with that type of mindset because nothing's changed from 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago to today. We still have limits on this roster. We still don't have the future quarterback on our team. And I think this roster is still fluid, as they said at the beginning of the year when they named the first 53-man roster. Think about all the changes we've gone through since then. And a lot of that was before the injuries. So I am not 100% disappointed in the Falcons. I'm disappointed in this game, but I'm not disappointed overall still with the Falcons. I think I have to see what is going to happen next. Because I really feel like we still have a lot of football left, and I just want to see how the coaches are going to react going forward. I really do. Okay, saw one. RJ says, I think the O-line can't hold up in the passing game. That's why we have to address the O-line in the offseason. I think they did a pretty decent job in some of those plays this year, holding up. Look, it's true. Run blocking is definitely the strength more than pass blocking for this line. No doubt. But I think he's had some opportunity. Today, one of the sacks he took for sure on that drive that I was referring to where we were trying to nickel and dime our way down the field. I think there was one in particular where I said, ooh, we're giving him too much time. And he kind of crumbled like somebody else I remember from the past. That guy. Chuck says we should have spent nearly the whole second half and hurry up, no huddle. Agree totally. There was no reason to slow the ball down in the second half. For some reason, I don't know. Why did we slow down? Facebook user says, no, this was not a bad loss. Our team fought and just couldn't overcome the cornerback losses. And there is one thing I have never questioned this year about the fact that is the fight and that they're trying. Nobody's ever saying that. I think in games like this, when you have those injuries to our front line folks, I think it shows that our depth is very suspect. We knew this from the beginning. There was no secret that we did not have quality depth on this team. No question about that. So you get exposed today. A good quarterback exposed you. A quarterback with ultra, uber talented wide receivers exposed you today. And it happens. We're not the only team to get blown out this year. I seen plenty of plays where Burrow got the ball out quick because our line was at him. Yeah, and we had a little bit of a rush, but then again, Joe knew who he had out there checking his guys. Mike says Drake has one catch. So pitiful. That's horrible, man. That's horrible. Tell the Jets and TJ said y'all need to tell the truth about the Falcons. Oh, we telling the truth. What's the lie? We're 3-4 right now, and by all prognosticators coming into the season, that's great. That's great. I am one win away from collecting a bet in Vegas because they thought the Falcons were actually 2 wins. 2 wins away from collecting the bet in Vegas because they thought the Falcons were only going to win 5 games. And there was no way. I think if you go back and ask folks, they probably say the Falcons will have 1, maybe 2 wins by now. But nobody's lying about anything. I mean, shoot, it is what it is. Dre said, did Marcus target Drake at all? Yeah, he did. ATL accent, we switched places with the 49ers this week. Hurt defense, no urgency to win. And you're absolutely correct, because if you probably listened to me last week, I said the same thing about the Niners. The Niners did the same thing. They had that long drive in the fourth quarter where when they started that drive, I think it was like 9 minutes. And by the time they got to the end and they didn't make the fourth down, I want to say it might have been 3 minutes and something seconds. So it is one of those things we just like, man, maybe we're just not playing to win. I don't know. Maybe Arthur Smith said, let's lick our wounds, let's regroup and go to this division game, this super important division game this Sunday. Millie Mills, how would you feel about Greedy Williams trade? Should he be cheap? And it doesn't seem like Cleveland want him. Woo, that would be kind of interesting. That would be kind of interesting. Oh, Greedy. That would be, it depends on what the price is. I think anything above a 4th round pick, can't do it. Even if we need them that bad. John says, y'all don't understand. This is a character building game. Well, look, and I think part of that is true, because this is the first time you really got stomped and didn't have a response. So, yes, going down the line, maybe so. Chuck says goes back to blank hiring Smith instead of hiring a GM first. It's the GM's job to hire the best coach for the job. Mr. Blank is not an expert in football personnel. And there could be some legitimacy to that when you start talking about that. So I look, I'm not giving up 100% on Arthur yet. I mean this. I said this at the beginning of this year. Now that the season has started and we won a couple of games and we won a couple at home, there's a different expectation, because that vibe was starting to creep back into Atlanta a little bit. Now the fans are starting to expect. I still give Arthur Smith until 2023, because that's the year that the pockets kind of clear up a little bit. We get a lot of bad money off the books, and then we might be able to fill in some space where we can. But we cannot. I don't agree 100%. I mean, people do it different ways. Hire the coach first, hire the GM. It's a different way to do it now in the NFL, but that's not the first time that's happened. So as they stop the pass. Ryan, what's going on? Ryan said, shaking my head, the Falcons lost. The Phillies are in the World Series this weekend. As a sports fan, sucks, man. This is rough for Atlanta sports fan. At least we got the Dogs. Falcons got to get it together. And yeah, I think I did see. Philly is going. Look, if anything, this tells you about sports, man. You've got to take advantage of things when you have it. I look back, and I'm not going to wax poetic on every play about what happens and all of this stuff. But that's why when you get to the big game, Falcons, last year Cincinnati, you got to take advantage of those times. You got to. Because if you don't, you start going back to what if. Think about the Braves right now. Even though the Braves were disappointed in their loss to Philly, I almost root for Philly now because at least we say we lost to the World Series champs. But when you start looking at that, at least Atlanta this year, why you don't see Braves fans going crazy about this year's loss, because we got a little equity with this championship. I think the Falcons situation is so different because of our lack of championship. Had we won that championship back in February 2017, I'm not trying to tell you it's an excuse for them to build towards the future, but I would say you would hear a lot less from the fan base now. Right now, with the way this is our second reincarnation since the 2000s, or maybe third. This would be the third, because first one was Vic, second one was Ryan, and now we got this one. And let's face it, because we don't truly have a quarterback right now, we might have to go through this again. Maybe. So if anything, this exposed that we need depth. This exposed that we need more creativity on offense. Those are the things that we're going to have going forward. Every NFL team is going to have a stinker every year. Let's hope that this is our worst one. Mike says coach wanted not to lose 80-17 if he let MM throw the ball, so he ran so the Bengals wouldn't get the ball back and score more. Some would probably think about that, to say, yeah, the more we keep the ball away from these guys, maybe they won't score again and all of that. So that could be a legit reason, but man, you play to win, man. Got to play to win. Chuck says the quarterback's question is vital. We need to know if Ritter is our guy, or do we look at the next draft? There are some real dudes coming out after this season. Now, we got a little ways to go to 7 games. We play 17. We got 10 more. So the season is not even close, especially in a division where your lead dog only has 3 wins, which mirrors yours. I think you got about 2 to 3 more games that you can really look at to say this 13 passes a game thing is not going to work. Not in today's NFL. It can work for you if you have a defense that's solid. If you have a solid defense and that defense has solid, performances, you can get away with a quarterback like Mariota in a system like Arthur is running. But if you have a secondary, hurt, injuries, whatever, if you have a secondary that's going to be bleeding, touchdowns all games to the opposition, it's hard to combat it with the type of offense we run. And today was just that mismatch. You can't run the ball like that down by that many points. You can't. I mean, you can do it, but expect to lose. I don't know why mine says Facebook user. I don't know. Like somebody else told me, I know it's a thing you can do so you can show your name on StreamYard. Yeah, so many people use StreamYard. Hopefully everybody get hip to that, because that's how most people do these lives now. But yeah, a lot of people tell me that screws up on them. Overall, this was a throwaway game, a good game for the Falcons. Let's go beat those dogs. The Panthers, listen, we're not good enough to have a throwaway game. I think that's my big point, man. I want to be that team that we can say, that doesn't matter. But boy, all these games matter. And even on paper, and looking at these games coming forward, we better play every game like we're trying to win if we want to be relevant in December and January. Gotta be. John says, before we got overboard about how bad Mariota supposedly is, you first got to eliminate the coaches and the plays called to expose him right now. I can't blame him for his play. Not yet. Well, again, it's hard to go 100% in on him. You're right, because you're actually very right. Very right. Is that wrong? You're correct. I go back again. 8 of 13, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown. He can only do the plays that they draw up for him. And if you're telling me they only drew up 13 plays for you, well, you had 3 sacks. So 16 plays, pass plays for you in a game like today when you're that far behind, that's where you do have to legitimately look at the coaching. Because you can't, I don't know, unless you're running the triple option or wishbone from back in the day, there's no way you're going to tell me you're going to make up a 21-point deficit running the ball. Not in the NFL. So I don't know. All Star says it's all good. We used to destroy people. What comes around goes around. I hope you're right. Jimmy says ain't gonna say I will. We'll miss Max Max accuracy, not Mac himself, because we can run now. But legitimately, he was our throwing. There could be some legitimacy in that where you had a quarterback that could sling it around. But I think now that we're in this new era, we just need to find that happy medium. There are too many quarterbacks right now in this league that are athletic and can throw the ball. We just have to find the right guy. I just think right now we haven't found that. We got to find that right quarterback that can do that. Find our Josh Allen, our Patrick Mahomes, our Jalen Hurts. That guy, our Lamar Jackson. I know they don't come by every day, but we got to find them. Daniel says the defense had a rough day as well as the offense. Yeah, they did. Defense looked horrible, Daniel. It's not the staff or nothing. We just lost that. And they came and said, F it, we throw it on y'all, and y'all can't stop it. Oh, agreed. Look, you're Cincinnati, and you already know the secondary is suspect, and then you see their number one guy go down, and you see this guy that they basically just picked up at the MARTA station that realized he was going to be playing this week. I would go at him too. Dan says still tied for the. Oh yeah, we talked about that way before you came in, brother. We were talking about that earlier. John says, and don't blame the defense. The offense kept putting them out there with no rest. Now you got to blame the defense too. You can't give up 35 points in the NFL and expect to win games. You can't do that. You do blame the defense as well. You can't give up 21 points in. I'm trying to think. Did they have that by the first quarter or the beginning of the second quarter? Whatever it is, you can't give up 21 points off the rip and expect your offense to make that all up. You can't do that. You can't. But again, the sky's not falling. It is a horrible bump. This is one of those bumps like you go over one of those speed bumps and it feel like it did something to your car, but it really didn't do permanent damage. You just got to keep plucking away, and we have to rebound quick against the Panthers and root for Baltimore this Thursday. Dan said I could definitely see us trading for Bryce Hall at cornerback. Look, Daniel, whoever's available, yeah, that's a good call. We definitely need some help because that, judging by the way that looked with AJ, that didn't look like it was going to be I'll be back next week injury. Dub J say we good. We don't supposed to be. We were ally. Maybe I'm reading that wrong. My bad, Dub. Winston says, to be honest, I wouldn't change out Fontenot or Smith for the next 3 years. Continuity is paramount. We finally have a chance to be a player in free agency in 2023. Let's see what we do with true talent. I must say, I probably concur with this statement right here. I know earlier somebody was saying about Smith and, I think I was Chuck talking about hiring the coach before the GM and all that. I get it. I absolutely get it. I think at the time, the only thing that I think in that situation, that I guess we'll never find out because I'm sure that would have been tampering. But at the time that Terry Fontenot, there were a lot of rumors that the Falcons wanted Fontenot coming off of the season. I think the only other person I know fans were clamoring, like myself, for Louis Riddick. But a lot of folks were saying Terry Fontenot was the front runner. And if you remember, the Saints were in the playoffs. That was the year homeboy from Minnesota, not Stephen Diggs, the tight end, caught the ball in overtime. I think that was Kyle Rudolph. Caught the ball and ended their playoff season. That after that game, the next morning, Terry Fontenot was named the GM. If it was that quick, that tells me that Terry Fontenot was the guy all along. So when I hear Smith was hired first, I think that was the reason he was. I think they had Fontenot in mind the whole time. And to your point, Winston, yeah, 2023 is the year that you're truly going to be under the microscope. You're always getting evaluated, Arthur Smith and Terry. But starting next year, when this money frees up and you can spend the money where you want to, that's where, and you got another draft coming up. That's where you'll see about this team. Winston says Smith has to run this offense like the 2012 Ravens, run the ball, pass at a minimum, and then ride the defense. We need more pass rusher. You remember, though, that particular year, Joe Flacco went off in the playoffs, though. Even though they did do a lot of running with Ray Rice that particular year, Joe Flacco, I think, had like 8 touchdowns, no interceptions during that playoff run. So, yeah, you do have to run the ball, but Flacco did his part that year too. Millie Mills, Cincinnati literally ran the ball like 12 times. They were mentally we were airing them out. I don't blame them one bit for that goal, for that plan. Dude, nobody was stopping them. Nobody was stopping them. Everybody ate. Higgins ate, Boyd ate, Chase ate, Hurst ate. It was like free time. Daniel says like they don't trust Mariota to bring us back when we're down. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Say like we trusted Ryan. Well, if they trusted Ryan, they wouldn't have traded him in March. That's for sure. Malik Willis, hindsight is 20. Yeah, right. I think Malik Willis is a very good runner right now. I saw him come in that game earlier this year, and I don't know who that was, but it was kind of interesting. I think Malik is gonna be fine, but nah, I'm good. Dub J say, man, we good unless P's good. Facebook user said we got Carolina next week. We're gonna be all right. Carolina, you talking about Carolina that just 21-3 Tampa Bay now? Let's not overlook it. Let's not overlook it. David says too early draft, but here it is. Joey Porter Jr., long, fast enough, and just as mean as Pops. Casey Harvard is on the short deal, and on the Casey Hayward, you mean, is on the short deal and on the wrong side. 20 on a 2-year deal. Yeah, he might not be up here next year. Winston says 21 points at the end of the first. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, 21 zip. That's crazy. Crazy. Rusty says sign Lamar in free agency and cross your fingers because I'm not sold on Smith, Pease, or Mariota. And who knows? Again, I know Baltimore will try their best to probably slap that franchise tag on Lamar, but maybe they'll work something out. I would think they might not do that, but we'll see. Dan says, can't let XFL quarterback PJ Walker beat us up this week. I know. That's crazy. He beat Brady. Yeah, Dan said Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, that play. Absolutely. Dub says, yep, money frees up. Absolutely it does. False Start says, Fontenot is a better hire than Riddick. Me too, at least. Yeah, no, I was saying at that time, he was one of the guys that I know a lot of the fans were clamoring for. Jimmy says, Lamar get tagged. But you say that, but you never know. They might work something out because, they get a pretty high compensation. That might be a high compensatory pick if they were to let him go. But I got a feeling they're going to work something out before the beginning of next year, but it's going to cost them. John says, after the first TD was scored, we went 3 and out twice. because of my coaching staff, hard-headed, trying to establish the run against the Super Bowl. Coaches said, I mean, don't get me wrong. The first drive, I don't mind you trying to establish the run. And matter of fact, going down 7, I don't mind you trying to establish the run. It's establishing the run down 3 possessions that bothers me. 2 possessions, I can almost understand. 3 possessions, I don't know. Winston says, Flacco had 11 TDs. My apologies, Winston. 11 TDs and no interceptions that playoff run. I'm an Oregon fan, so I don't see Mariota throwing that in a 3-game span. Yeah, I hear you. And another thing, we ran play action on the 3rd and 14 in the second quarter. What defense is falling for that? I shake my head sometimes. Yeah, I think there will be a lot of questioning, and I also think Arthur Smith is truly, I don't know, maybe because he hadn't been in that position this year, and maybe he just, I don't know, maybe he lost it. I don't know. But it was kind of interesting. His play calling was strange today. Jimmy says if he was talking about, I'm sure Lamar, in free agent, they don't get a high one as you think. That's why the teams try to keep them in the house. A compensatory, if as a free agent, he might, I'm talking about like a third round pick maybe. For a compensatory pick, for a free agent like Lamar, might have to double check that one. They'll get something high for that. That's not a fly by night. That's not a fly by night player right there. For those interested, update: Charlotte is up on the Hawks 80-71. So much for that 22-9 we were talking about earlier today. So I don't know. We'll see. Daniel says can't break the bank for Lamar. Oh, no, I would. Shoot. Man, Lamar Jackson's come to the city of Atlanta. I'm just trying to tell y'all, man, things will be a lot different. Things will be different if Lamar would have come here. Sorry, I have to disagree with you on that one. I would break the bank for him. John says, mighty funny our quarterback coach was praising Mariota's running ability. Yeah, I'm sure he was. That was doing him no good today. Mike said, happy the Kitty Cats won. We might have slept on them. Now we want that. And that's the good thing. Yeah, let them get all that field. Again, when you start talking about what Carolina did to Panthers, they just got rid of McCaffrey. They just got rid of Robbie Anderson. They're down to their 3rd string quarterback this week. Carolina is playing the we got nothing to lose, and they were at home. So what better way to rally the troops and all of that than to, fight real hard? And they did. They fought and they won the game. And surprisingly, the way they won, which is crazy. I mean, I am truly shocked the way they won the game. Real quick, let's get y'all up to date on the 4 o'clock games. The Broncos are down, surprisingly, and that's sarcastic, to the Jets 13-9. No Russell today. Ripien is playing for them. 12 minutes left. Broncos do have the ball. Texans and the Raiders. Raiders are blowing them out at the moment, 38-20. Raiders have scored 21 points in the 4th quarter to pretty much seal that game for them today. Seattle, man, a team that we beat. Good job. 24-14. 3rd quarter, still got a lot of time in that particular game. And the Chiefs, despite the acquisition of Brother McCaffrey for 49ers this week, the Chiefs are up 28-16 on the 49ers. So earlier today, the Cowboys rallied in the 4th quarter to beat the Lions 24-6. The Titans put a hurt on our former guy, Matty Ice, 19-10, bring them down to 300. Titans are in front in the AFC South. Mild upset, the Commanders at home defeat the Green Bay Packers 23-21. Aaron Rodgers, that's 3 straight losses for the Packers. And probably the biggest shock of the day, the Carolina Panthers, who were really kicking up on these Bucks, man. They beat them 21-3 today. Not a good day for Captain America at quarterback. The Giants continue to keep moving, man. They're just one game behind the Eagles, 23-17. They beat the Jaguars at home. Jaguars fall to 2-5. And the Ravens sneak a win against the Browns, who are just waiting for Deshaun to come to the team. They got about 5 more weeks for that. And they have dropped to, does that make them 2-5? That drops the Browns to 2-5. So wow, and wow. So anyway, listen, glad to talk to y'all today. Tomorrow we'll have the aftermath. Tomorrow I'm thinking we're gonna be 6 o'clock. It might end up being smidge later. I'll put something up on YouTube and in the ABG if it ends up being a little later than that. But Falcons lose a disappointing one today, 35-17. Come home, let's lick these wounds and get ready for what turns out to be, if Tampa Bay doesn't win Thursday night, the game for Atlanta and Carolina will be, yes, week 8 is early, but will be for first place in the NFC South. Look, we got a lot we can control right now, the way everything's falling. So look forward to the game next week. Look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow in the aftermath. Until then, this is your Uncle Steve. I will talk to y'all later. Peace.